My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, it's time for another episode of 40-plus Gay Men, Gay Talk, and today we're going to go get really intimate. We're going to get sacred. We're going to talk about body image and sexuality and aging and connecting to ourselves. We're going to go into some talk about consent and what does that look like in our own community? Because too often as gay men, we think we have to be this and be that. And then we get in our heads and everything kind of quote unquote explodes. And I'm very excited to have this guest. He has done some amazing work with consent. He's part of the Body Electric School as an educator. And I know we've had other guests on about Body Electric, but we're going to dive into what does it mean to be a sacred intimate and a somatic guide. His name is JoJo Bear, and we've kind of been knowing each other for off and on for a few months here and kind of like, hey, we should do something. And today we're finally making it happen. So I'm excited. I hope each of you get something from this. Be open to the experience, to the thoughts. And JoJo, welcome to the podcast, sir. I am so glad to have you here.
Hi, Rick. It's good to see you and actually like meet you. And because
Yes.
I see your videos on Facebook and I hear you talking on Facebook, I'm like, who's that handsome man? I need to talk to him.
Okay, so now he's flirting with me, but I'll take it. But it is, and right back at you, buddy. You're a handsome guy, and I love that. I think this is part of it. How do you create connections? How do you have these conversations? How do you genuinely say, I think you're a really handsome guy without there being any weird? It can just be, ooh, I'm saying something nice about somebody. And so often in our lovely world as gay men, everything is about the sex and the this and that. And nothing wrong with that, guys. Please don't take what I just said like, no, we shouldn't be having sex. Please have sex. Enjoy it. Be naked. Enjoy all of that stuff. But a lot of times, JoJo, I think in your work, you have probably encountered that these can be tricky territories for men to navigate, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate your disclaimer. Sex is good. Sex is great. And a lot of people know how to have sex, and a lot of people know how to, it's easy and rampant and it's around. But a lot of times what I've been hearing lately from a lot of people is, I want connection. I want to have this kind of opportunity to be in this deeper connection, right? And feeling satiated and feeling like, complete after an experience with someone. And it could be as simple as like, oh, you know what? Maybe I think someone's handsome. And in the past, I would be afraid to share that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it's kind of those experiences like, God, I should have got his number. Or, God damn, like, why didn't I turn around?
Right,
He
exactly.
smiled at me. And so a lot of times, it's just this encouragement of like, sometimes there's risk taking, right? And it's just kind of like, let me go on faith. Let me just take this opportunity, right? And I think what's behind that, I'm going to just share my little insight behind that is, and this coincides a lot with consent, is that there are a lot of, I'm going to stick to gay men, right? Because we're talking about this. There's a lot of gay men that have a weird relationship with no, either saying no or hearing no, right?
Yep.
And I do a little practice, like when I teach, I do a little practice. It's very simple, where I get, you put partners up together, and it could be very silly, but it could also be very deep and meaningful, where I would just say, hey, Rick, will you do this for me, right? Just will you questions, right? Will you hug me? Will you get me a glass of water? Will you, paint my toenails, right? And the other person just pauses and says no to everything.
Yep.
And what I always notice afterwards, people somatically, meaning of the body, start to have these reactions like, oh my God, that was horrible. Or that felt really intense. Or my chest tightened up. Or I laughed. Like I just laughed at everything. And so sometimes saying no uh, is scary for folks. And most importantly, too, hearing it
Yes.
can bring that sense of abandonment, rejection. I'm not good enough. Oh, see, this is all I was.
Yeah.
It
This
proved
is
my
all.
point.
Yes, this is all I'm here for. This is all I'm good enough for, or see, I'm not lovable. I'm not worth being told I'm handsome, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when for many listeners, and we before we came on, we were talking about Court Box, another one of my friends who does somatic work and everything. But some of them, this may be their first time. So, in your own words, what does it mean to be in that sacred, intimate space, to be a somatic guide? So, just to kind of like set the tone for where we are.
Yeah. The somatic, for me, soma meaning the body, everything relating to the body. A big portion of the work that I do is really like, I think the real big point of this work that I do or this practice that I do, when I look at it for myself, it's really having this experience where I'm a little more embodied. So I'm
Mm,
bringing language to what I'm noticing, whether it's sensations, temperature, just noticing what's happening in our bodies, because I really believe this, and I think there's some scientific proof, but that our bodies are super smart. Like our bodies are literally telling us what is actually happening if I listen to it. But unfortunately, we live in a world where it's about the thinking, right? It's about creating some associations or creating some ways of, oh, he said no, that means I'm a horrible person, right? Instead of noticing what does my body feel, right? Like maybe I feel a heaviness in my chest or a depth in my body, right?
yep,
And so doing somatic work and doing sacred intimacy work is really holding space for people that want to drop into their body. And sometimes that includes the erotic.
yep.
It may not always, but it will include the erotic, right? Around the body, around sensuality. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. See if you have another
Well,
question.
I do. I mean, well, one of the things you just said is like that listening. We think we listen. Most of the time we don't. Even as you were speaking, I'm like, okay, I'm really listening to what JoJo's saying because I want to make sure I capture something that shows the audience what he just said. And too often, so let's kind of go back to like this sacred intimacy space, this somatic listening to your body and gay men. So let's go the full gamut there. We're on Grinder. Okay, let's go. Let's just go. Well, did you say let's go because you were actually listening to what you really want in that moment? Or have you just become so accustomed to like, okay, let's just go. Let's just go get laid. Let's just go get fucked. Let's just, let's go get off. Or did you really listen to what your body's wanting? In fact, I was having this conversation with another friend of mine this past week. And like, how many times do we as gay men say yes when we really would rather be saying no? Just because in the moment we're like, okay, I need to get laid. So I'm just gonna whatever. I'm gonna just go for it. Yet inside us, we're going, I don't really want to do this. I feel really trapped. Just the fact that I just said yes is kind of making me feel like trashy and slutty. Not that there's anything, not that there's anything wrong with feeling trashy and slutty. In fact, I encourage people like if you want to feel slutty, then own it. Go be it. Because there's something within you that says, this is what I want to feel. This is what I want to experience right now. Where the problem shows up is when we keep throwing judgment against ourselves. Like, oh, you really want to do that? Comes back to, are you really listening to what's happening? Not just in your head. And those of you who are seeing this on YouTube and seeing me using my hands and everything, it's not just in your head. It's what's down here in your soul, in your gut, in the purest essence of who you are. And I think that's what you're saying, JoJo, is that it's this whole body experience that's driving what is it we want most. But most of the time, we're not listening to the whole body experience. We're listening only to this crazy little thought making machine in our head.
Yeah, and the practice there is just slowing down and just and noticing more. You know, one of the basic things I do when I start with clients, like uh when I'm working with a client, it's like, okay, we're gonna start with just slowing things down and completely dressed, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're you know, and it's like, how do I take in sensation? How do I
Mm-hmm.
take in information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, how do I, create actual language for what I'm experiencing, right? And so I always come down to like teaching people, like, what am I noticing? Like, what am I actually noticing? And I get really dumb with it. I say, do not get intellectual.
Right.
Do not, because that is going to put you in your fucking head, right? So it's like, I notice my leg, right?
Mm-hmm.
I notice my hand against my thigh. I notice, my stomach feels full, right? So it's really getting folks to say, I'm noticing. What am I noticing? What am I aware of? I'm noticing the light in the room. I'm aware of the sound outside the room. Like the basic things, because what's happening is our body's experiencing these, right?
Yep.
And then we move on
Mm-hmm.
to, if there's a noticing, what is, like, okay, so there's a noticing. Is there a desire now?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm
Mm-hmm.
noticing that my lower back is hurting and I'm sitting on a chair talking to you, maybe my request is, will you join me on the floor and let's lay
Mm-hmm.
down,
Yeah.
right? And for me to say that, now it's a little easier because I practice it a lot. But for someone to actually say that to someone, that's really radical for some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
One, because they may hear a no, or two, they may have to explain themselves to the point where it gets so fucking intellectual again.
Right. Right. Exactly. But there's a beautiful essence. Well, I'm going to do the yes and the no. There's a
Hmm.
beautiful essence of going for no, because the more
Hmm.
no's you get, the closer you get to a yes.
Hmm.
But then there's also, and I'm going to refer to Shonda Rhimes' book, A Year of Saying Yes, where she's very much a kind of a recluse, even though she writes all these amazing shows and stuff.
Hmm.
But she does, for everything she's done, she didn't say yes to a lot of stuff. She's just like, this is what I do, this is what I. And her sister, and the whole book tells the story about her sister finally saying, you never say yes. What would happen if you started saying yes? You
Hmm.
just said yes, but you didn't just say yes to say yes. You said yes from an intentional space. And I think both a yes and a no, when they come from a very intentional space. So this has nothing to do with what you were just talking about, but actually, I think it's going to really demonstrate this really well. Last night, I was laying on the couch. I was really tired. We had recently worked a film festival over the weekend, and I loved it. It was great, but doing things we didn't normally do, like standing 4 and 5 hours at a time, talking to people on a regular basis, helping people find the theaters and all this sort of stuff. And, I was doing MCing and stuff. This is not my normal day. Right. And so my body was just kind of like, okay, we're done here, Rick. We're done. Right. And we had eaten out all weekend because we were working at the festival. So last night I made a lovely, delicious, like fresh vegetable dish, even though we'd basically been eating Chinese and all this all weekend, eating pretty healthy. Get done. We finally get to just like, here, let's just turn the TV on, even though we watch movies all weekend. That's different. Being in the theater, watching movies, all this stuff. And I laid down, also knowing that we were getting ready to leave on a trip. And of course, my little head's going, well, there's food in the refrigerator. It's got to get eaten up. Da, da, da. I'm like, yes, but I don't want to eat anything else. Well, then hubby gets up after we'd already had dinner, has his, he goes to get his little dessert, right?
Hmm.
My little head's going, well, there's cheesecake in there. I'm not going to waste this cheesecake. I really think I should eat this piece of cheesecake, but I don't really want to, right? And my body was saying, you're in a really good space. You feel really good. You've got just the right amount. But of course, my little miserly head's going, that cheesecake cannot go to waste. It can't go to waste. Just eat part of it, give the rest to the daughter when she takes it to the airport. JoJo, I was so freaking miserable after I ate that piece of cheesecake because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to my body. And of course, I crawled into bed right after that. And I'm like, oh, why did I do this? Why didn't I just say no? Why did I just not say no? And too often we don't listen to these signals from our body, whether it's eating a piece of cheesecake or going out and having sex, or even just saying no to, I just want to be by myself. And that's okay. I don't need to go out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm, it's, and also underneath it, sometimes we think the cheesecake is great. We think the
Right.
cheesecake is what's what we need to do. But then there's underneath it, there may be another desire.
Mm-hmm.
There may be, I need to be alone. I need you to hold my hand. So sometimes there's like really listening to my body and saying, okay, well, what's underneath that?
Yes.
Right? What's underneath that? Because sometimes that could be just a feeling. There's some kind of feeling. And yeah.
And when we don't go explore the feelings, and I think this is one of the things I'm going to say in the LGBTQ community, but especially gay men, we have been almost forced to not express our feelings. Men in general. Okay, let's start there. Men in general are like, don't express feelings. That's not what men do, right? And then as gay men, it's like, don't express feelings because if you do, they're going to see that you're gay. And so suddenly we're in this horrendous trap of don't express, even though we love Madonna and she always preaches to us, express yourself, right? But there's this interesting piece of that. So then we put those feelings down. We don't go look and explore. And knowing that you and I are going to have this conversation today, I didn't know I was going to bring the whole cheesecake thing up, but I'm glad I did, because if I'd really explored that, I'm like, what was the worst that could have happened? You would have just simply got rid of the cheesecake, or you could have put it. Of course, this morning I woke up, I'm like, why didn't I just put the cheesecake in the freezer? I could have froze the cheesecake and had it when we got back. Of course, then the next thought was like, I'm so not like, I just don't want to see another piece of cheesecake. And I'm like, well, that's pretty stupid because you're going to New York City, and New York City has some of the best cheesecake in the world, Rick. So you kind of shot yourself in the foot on that one. But I think this is the interesting space of, let's kind of shift into like when men get invited into these spaces to explore that sacred, intimate part of themselves, that erotic space, that get deeper, it can be very frightening because we've been told, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Just go, in the gay world, well, in the straight world too, but we'll focus on the gay men. No, just go get naked, fuck, get done, come. Okay, thank you. There's no room for the rest. It's clean up, get out. Sometimes not even clean up. Like, here, you just came all over him. Good. Okay, I don't have anything. See ya, I'm out, right? Yeah. What a shame that we don't give ourselves that privilege to explore. Ooh, now what do I feel? I always say to guys that are newly coming out of the closet, here's my one best piece of advice. Go enjoy the sex. They're like, well, of course I'm like, no, you didn't hear what I'm saying. Go enjoy the sex. All of it. The fear, the anticipation, the being in the midst of it. I've never tried that before. I really want to come, but I back down. Now you have the come. Enjoy the come all over you or in you. Don't rush. What happens if you lay there and embrace the moment instead of, okay, grab the cum rag, wipe off, go? What would start to be different for us as gay men if we didn't just go, okay, thank you, sir, and I'm gone? We'd be more connected. We'd have better relationships. We'd learn to enjoy pleasure in a whole different way. And I think that's what the kind of work that you do, JoJo, is inviting people to embody that being in that presence. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, I have a million stories, but one of the things that I've had the privilege is to work with men that are just coming out. And like I always say, oh honey, like this is like where I literally channel my gay mother, right? Like I'm just like, and so, there is a client that I have, I talk about him all, all the time. I should probably pay him. But I had a client that I worked with. I've had a lot of guys that are either coming out or in that transition,
Mhm.
and mostly all over 40. Like
Yep.
like the younger kids are just they just get spat out
Yep.
queer,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
But there was this gentleman, was recommended by a therapist, calls me up, you know, and I usually have like a 20-minute Zoom call or a phone call because I just want people to know what they're stepping into, right?
Right.
And I also want to know, like, I want to know who I'm going to be working with, just in case I have to refer them out to somebody else. And it was just this real gentle voice. And he goes, I need to tell you that I am 82 years old. And I go,
Wow.
okay. I was like, okay, great. I was like, and I said it, and at the time I was 49. I was like, I'm 49.
Hmm.
And we started laughing and we just had a really great rapport. And, he waited for his wife to die
Mhm.
to act out. Like he
Yes.
hadn't even acted. And so I was like, I mean, it was, we had many sessions with each other in this room. And it was like, I can't even tell you, it was just like, we started with the basics. Like I talked about prep, I talk about, blowjobs and anal sex and falling in love really hard and, chasing after younger guys and, like all of this stuff. And it was just such a beautiful opportunity and experience. And then, we got into a lot of the physical stuff. It was like, okay, you, you you have to learn how to be touched. You have to learn how to touch another
Yes.
man. It's different than a woman, right?
Mhm.
And how to kiss and how to give a blowjob and how to like all of these things. And it was just this beautiful opportunity of like giving him language. And it was like at 82 years old, like giving him new language. I don't know why I'm getting
Mhm.
emotional.
Well, not only were you giving him new language, but you were giving him permission,
Yeah,
like this
yeah.
beautiful permission to say, here, this is the next chapter. Go freely into it, however that looks for you. It's kind of interesting because I had one of somebody like that too early on in my coaching practice. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
still trying. I mean, I knew I was coaching men coming out of the closet. So that there wasn't any, doubt about that. And ironically, this guy was from Colorado, not far from where I grew up.
Hmm.
And when he told me where he's from, I'm like, oh, I said, I live 20 miles from where you were. So then we had that little conversation.
Hmm.
And he said, well, he goes, I don't know. I don't know if you'll work with me. I said, why not? I'm 78 years old. I'm like, well,
Mm.
what difference would that make? And he goes, well, I'm not really here to have sex with men. I'm like, okay. So I'm starting to go, okay, well, then what is this? He goes, but
Mhm.
I do find the male body really beautiful. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. So if you're not here for that, he goes, well, that's part of it, but I'm not ready to jump into that yet. I'm like, okay. Because I just need somebody to talk to like really work through what I like to do. I'm like, okay, let's work through that. What comes up when you think about talking about what you like to do? Fear. Fear from what? He goes, that I'm hurting my wife. I'm like, oh, so you're married? He goes, well, I was. She's passed. And I said, so I said, I feel like there's a reckoning. You're coming to a reckoning of things you felt, but you didn't feel like you could act on. Is that a pretty good analysis? He goes, yep. Would you like to share with me what that is? And again, we don't, this was like first session. So you see, I was going like, well, you brought this up. So I guess we're diving in. Here we go.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
He said, while I admire the male physique, because I really like to dress up.
Mm.
I said, oh, what does that mean to you? Because, well, I live on a little farm. And he goes, I love my wife dearly. I loved her for all those years. He goes, I always knew that I was very turned on by thinking about putting on a dress and putting on panties. and putting on a bra. He goes, so you probably don't want to work with me now, do you? I said, no, you don't need to make that assumption. I said, because guess what? I'm probably the first person you've been able to articulate that to. And he goes, yep. I said, so tell me more. How does that make you feel? How does that, And it was really beautiful, JoJo, because he just wanted to be able to do that. He goes, I'm not going to, he goes, I'm not going to go into town dressed that way. He goes, but I love just the feeling. I love like I can just be me. And he goes, maybe at some point, I might decide to invite a man over who might be interested in this. But he goes, I'm not. So funny. He goes, I ain't cutting off my dick. I ain't cutting off the dick. It ain't going nowhere. And it was really beautiful because I think part of this awakening that you do and the kind of the work that I do, it is about helping people reach really deep. Like go into that deepest space where they're like, oh, is it okay to talk about this? Is it okay to feel this? Is it okay to desire this and want this? And when you give them that permission, what a beautiful gift.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody ever wants to get in this kind of work, the first thing, because I mentor a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mentor people that want to do sacred intimacy or sex work or whatever. And I just say, like, you're not healing anybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not, I mean, like, I'm very, very, and maybe it'll change, but I'm very quick to say, oh, I'm a healer. No, I'm meeting people where they're at.
Yes.
Right. And I'm just stepping into their life. And I'm also doing it with a lot of compassion, a lot of love. Right. And so, and I know that it's not my stuff. I can identify and relate to wounds because we all have them, right? And
Yep.
wounds will show up. But I also know like everybody has a story. And so my coming out process was, I was 15, in
Mm.
fucking New York, Brooklyn, New York. I was this real rambunctious kid. I was the kid in the neighborhood that got all the boys naked, right?
Mm.
And so,
And you
but
still do probably. No.
I get paid for it now.
Now you get paid
Well,
for it. Exactly.
so the thing is, but I did have such a hard time because even though I knew, like, you know, I'm a kid. Like I
Yeah.
look at 50-year-olds now and I'm like, they fucking, these are kids. And my biggest fear was like, what if my mom and dad throw me out of the house? Like, where am I gonna go? And so I can somatically go back
Mm.
into my body and realize like this is like intense fear
Yeah.
that is pushing up against my truth
Yes.
and what's available there, like what's available there. So like and this is what you said with this man. It's like, okay, there's fear and truth in the same room,
Yeah.
and can't we just let both of them out?
Well, can't we
That
just let them both exist?
Yeah, both exist, and it's okay to say, it's okay to say no when it's not a clear no, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to say yes when there's a fuck yeah in my body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, sometimes it's like a delayed reaction. It's like,
Right.
wait, tell me more. Like
Mm-hmm.
there may be a yes, but just tell me more. Like what would you like me to do? And but that doesn't make us not make requests. And I think this is what a lot of gay men are looking for, this agency to make the request, because and there's nothing wrong with a non-sex, there's nothing wrong with dirty bookstores or bathhouses. I've told clients, honey, your homework is you need to go to the bathhouse, right? you know, and I will, I had one client that I actually said, okay, you're gonna pay for my locker and you're gonna
Mm.
pay for my you're gonna pay my fee,
Entry fee. Yep. Mm-hmm.
and I will meet you at the Steamworks 4 o'clock on Tuesday, and we're gonna have a session.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna twirl with you. I'm gonna show you. I
Yep.
literally was like, I was a docent. I was a tour guide. I was like, okay, his ass up is in the air. He probably wants to get topped. This is where the glory holes are. This is where the showers are.
Mhm.
This is where they have little cups where you can grab some mouthwash, right?
Mhm.
And so it was so beautiful to walk someone through their fear because there's truth there too. It's like I want to be there.
Yes.
Like this man was like a little child at Toys R Us.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God. But it's just, for coaches or sacred intimates, even sex workers, we're just taking people to their threshold. And what's important is how we get there is by asking questions, is by
But if
saying,
we don't allow the fear to bring us to that space,
"Mhm,
we can't find the truth. That's one of my things, is like the fear always reveals our truth.
yeah,
It's such a beautiful thing. Like, okay, I'm afraid of this because this is what I'm truly feeling. Okay, but what's in that truth? Is it the truth that's causing the fear? Or is there this like, oh, I'm afraid of because this is what I want, I'm breaking some big bad rule? You know,
yeah.
I I felt that for years, and that's the reason I screwed around in my marriage for so long. Like, well, if I let somebody see this truth, then all this bad stuff's going to happen. But yet, it, it would have been more painful to get found out about being caught than to just admit, okay, here's my truth. I want dick. I want dick. I want dick. you know, it, it's that was actually less fearful than what actually happened. Because when I did come home and I told my wife, here's the thing, I'm gay, I've met somebody, that was harder. It would have been a lot easier to say, here's the thing, I know I'm gay, I've known it, and I'm sorry. And we need to, but no, I had to add in, and it all worked out. But I had to have the additional thing, like, and I met somebody, and so there was so much. All of it was still my truth, JoJo. I mean, every bit of this is my truth. And too often we try to hide our truth because we don't want to experience the fear or the pain that's going to come with that truth. When in reality, the only way through it is through it. Just
Mhm.
be in it. I'm sure in all your work, even in the body electric work, I am sure there are guys that show up absolutely excited and petrified.
I was just in Portland this weekend, 2.5 days of teaching, of a workshop that has been taught for over 41 years in body electric, celebrating the body erotic.
Mm-hmm.
And it is way more than a workshop. It's more of a ritual, right? And
Yep.
so many people have gone through it. Straight people, gay, trans, all these people have gone through it. This one was mostly men. Um, Generally, I would probably say 89% of the men there identified as gay. Um, and there were men that were so terrified. And we know because they're like,
Yes.
they keep messaging me and the coordinator, what do I wear? What time do you have to be there? Like they get all this stuff. And so sometimes it's just you just have to like just love them even more.
Well,
And
you have to
just
love them and hold space for them to be loved.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
much of what's happening in that space, okay, and so I alluded to, I've worked with Craig Cullinane a couple of times on the podcast, and we've had these conversations through Court Box's work. I've had these conversations. There's nothing more petrifying to a man than getting naked in the presence of another man for whatever weird reasons. It scares the shit out of us. Part of it is men aren't supposed to do this, and if you do,
Mhm.
you're gay. And then of course there's well, he's really hung and I'm not. Okay, fine. It's such an interesting space. When I did Court's retreat a few months ago, I was on the fence. Not, not
Mhm.
not because I was afraid to be there. I was like, no,
Yeah.
come on, let's rock on, let's roll, right? But suddenly something came up for me, and I'm like, I'm going to share this.
Mhm.
I'm going to share that for me, one of the main reasons I'm here is because I need to come to terms with my new version of sexuality at my stage of life. I don't come buckets anymore. I struggle. I wouldn't say, no, yeah, I kind of struggle with erections, but it's more disappointing to me. Like I can get a good solid erection, but nothing happens. And that's very devastating to me. until it wasn't. I mean, I'm kind of on the other side of it, but that weekend it showed up a couple of times for me. I'm like, I'm so inferior. I was one of the older guys there, but the beauty of it was, guess what happened when I shared that? All of a sudden I heard people in the room going, because our safe words were just like me, just like me.
Mhm.
And suddenly there was almost like this horrendous roaring, just like me, that happened. I'm like, wait, most of you guys are half my age, or you're in your 40s.
Mhm.
What we think to be true is oftentimes not that truth.
Yeah.
Yes, there's going to be those guys that show up. I'm sure there's guys that show up at Body Electric, even in courts thing, like, okay, we're going to get naked and we're going to see everybody's junk. Cool. But I don't think most people are coming like, that's what I'm coming for. It's actually more afraid to go, this is what's going to really happen. And I think that's the beauty of when we step into naked truths, no pun intended, the beauty and the magic begins to open up. And that's when we get to really see ourselves.
Yeah, I think, and thanks for sharing that because people need to hear stuff like this, right? People need to hear that, like, um, the thing is with like Body Electric and a lot of other folks that are doing this kind of work and offering this is that we're doing it communally in the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking about it, it's like it's really easy for people to get naked or drop trout in a dark theater, in a
Yep.
glory hole, or in the bathhouse. There are actually nights at the bathhouse where they have lights off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but doing it in a group of men and being it like there is such a beautiful experiential like ritual happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's way in the light, right? And so
Yep.
this is what I always love sharing this to people. I say it every time I teach. I say, do you guys want to know there are only two fears?
Mm.
And then I pause and I'm like, do you want to know what they are? And I say, there's really only two fears: fear of loss of control and fear of rejection.
Yep.
And I said, if you are feeling one of the two or both, then you are in the right fucking place,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're feeling it. And those two things have prevented me from really connecting into other relationships, for taking risks. So a lot of times when I'm maneuvering a sacred intimacy session, or when I'm doing some sort of erotic, practice with someone, I remind them, like, is there a fear of loss of control? Is there a fear of rejection here? Like, what's alive for you? And most people, when they see that, they're like, whoa, right? I mean, I have to get up like in the celebrating the body erotic. There is a point where we're teaching cock strokes.
Mm-hmm.
We're teaching fucking cock strokes. And Body Electric has 101 cock strokes, right? We don't teach all of them. And I know I'm standing in front of the room naked in front of men, and I have to do all this on myself, right? And show them. And then I show them the cock stroke, and then they get to do it. And then I show them. And it's really like a classroom setting.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where I'm just like, I'm just not getting an erection, and I'm going to stay soft. And guess what? All of this can happen with soft cock, right?
Yep.
And so it's kind of like working through my fear of rejection, my fear of loss of control, what you think of me. And I think there's this whole, there's this whole relationship to media, porn, all of this
Yep.
stuff, which is all I tell people. I think porn's great. Porn's good, right? However, I classify it as entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's no different than me going to see a spooky movie, right?
Nope.
Like, I know the reaction I'm going to get. I know I'm going to throw the popcorn in the air. I'm going to bite my nails, right? Porn, I am doing something that can be so disembodied. Like,
Yep.
it's just
Let's go. Let's
and
get it
and
done.
some and I'm not even in the fucking picture. I'm watching
Nope.
two other people. I am literally like not even thinking about this. So porn's great. But I also tell folks that like that is not what real bodies or the real, even some of the amateur porn are starting to look like porn. It's
Yep.
like it's really about, you know, if I'm practicing, this is a somatic thing. If I'm practicing something over and over and over, and there's a pleasurable release, it
Mhm.
becomes a habit. It
Yes.
becomes, and so I know this because I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, and I know how that shit works in the subconscious mind. And so what happens is eventually I'm going to actually believe that that's how it's supposed to be in the real world. So then when
Mm.
I'm with other people and I lose an erection, there's going to be two things that happen. I'm a broken man, or
Yes.
I can't do this. And on the other side is going to be, uh, am I the problem? Right? So there's this, so it's about shifting all of that and realizing like my body's just going to be different every day. You know, I weighed
But
my,
embracing that is the big
yeah,
key.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say I weighed myself before I went to the doctors to get a checkup the other day, and then when I got to the fucking doctors, it was a higher weight, and I was like, I didn't eat anything, and so my body is just gonna be different. That's the cool thing about our bodies. However, even though our bodies are changing and shifting and aging
Mm.
and morphing, we still have all the sense memories. We still have all the associations, the traumas, the wounds, all of that stuff. And there, we still have all those pockets of pleasure. So it's if I can take a little bit of time to just a little bit to get out of my head
Yep.
and to drop into my body, I can access things. Right? And it's a little different than regular conventional therapy because, a lot of people say, oh my God, I've done more with you than I've done with my therapist in years. And I'm like, yeah, because with therapists, you're just talking about feelings. You're not actually getting into the body,
Yep.
right? Therapists cannot even practically hug their clients or shake their hands, right?
Right.
So a lot of times I tell people like, go to a sacred intimate, go to a sex worker, go to somebody that you can actually like feel through all of this stuff, right? Especially, there's a lot of folks that I have worked with, they've had some extreme sexual assault or sexual abuse. And so going slow can really redeem a lot of the wounds that prevent people from actually having connections,
Mm.
whether it's erotic or sensual or, yeah.
I'm so glad you brought this up, JoJo, because there's a wound. Okay, so since I opened up, I'll continue to open up a little bit about this. So I struggle with kidney stones. A few years ago, I had one. I've shared this a little bit on the podcast before, and it basically ended up being something. I was in Boston at the time. Hubby had to come back to California, went to the ER, everything got taken care of, and I was moving on to go to Florida for a company retreat. And I was really horny. I was really horny after all this got kind of taken care of. And I decided to jerk off, and mostly because I was trying to hook up with a boy and that didn't happen. So I'm like, fine, jerked off. Nothing happened. I'm like, holy shit, this kidney stone got everything blocked up, which is not what can happen to begin with. So I'm giving like a little medical lesson here too. Well, the next night I get to Florida. I'm still trying to potentially pass the stone. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to bed early and get into my bedroom at the retreat. And I'm like, I'm really freaking horny. Jerk off again. Nothing happens. I am freaking out. Like, oh my God, I've got some real major problems. Like, I get an erection, but nothing else is going down.
Mhm.
Get home, go to my doctor. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, well, I went to my urologist because the kidney stone. He's like, what do you mean? What's going on? I said, I'm not getting any ejaculation. Like, of course you're not. You're on this medication. It stops the ejaculation.
Oh, God.
But that wound is still there. So every time I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
come, I'm like, okay, well, what am I taking right now that's causing this? So I recently had a kidney stone blasted,
Mhm.
and all sorts of stuff was going on that I won't go into. But I'm like, but I'm really horny. Well, of course, I'm on meds. I could get hard. I'm to the point, JoJo, where I'm so comfortable with, like, I love the feeling of getting hard. I love that feeling of like I'm going to have an orgasm. And if nothing happens, I still have the orgasm. It's just, it didn't produce anything.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to embrace that this may be what happens at sometimes, and other times that may not be what happens. But I'm letting that little wounding from years ago still kind of be the pebble in the shoe, so to speak.
Mhm.
And as soon as I embrace, like, okay, this is just where we are, I'm more relaxed. And then, of course, as soon as I get relaxed, like, there'll be times I don't come when I'm in a sexual situation with my husband, or if we're having a play date. I used to freak out about that. Oh my God, this, third person is going to think I'm not interested. No, that's not it. Hey, guess what? I'm 61. This shit happens. This is what's
Mhm.
going to happen. And I think sometimes it's the embracing. Again, we're kind of coming back to, like, really embracing what's happening in this moment, embodying what is in the present moment, getting deep into yourself, into that space where it's like, oh, okay. Because otherwise we can drive ourselves freaking crazy. So I'm so
Yeah,
glad
it just
we are exploring this stuff today, because sometimes I think guys in our mid 40s and above, we get this crazy, and I'm sure younger guys too. I'm not going to say that, but this craziness starts to rattle around, and then, oh my gosh, I'm no good at sex, nobody's going to want me, blah 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 blah, instead of, like, getting reconnected to ourselves.
yeah, it's and this is why, when I first put my shingle out years ago, I I took a training a bunch of years ago. I was doing sexological body work, and and when we were having this training, it was in San Francisco. I remember this person came to talk to us that had been doing work for a while, and they had said, know your clientele, know the people you want to work with, right? Because it's really easy to, like, oh, I want to work with everybody. I want to change the world, but that's not doable, right? And so I thought, I want to work with primarily gay men over 50 or 40,
Mm.
excuse me, over 40. Now I'm 50 now, but so that was my shtick. I was like, I want to work with gay men over 40.
Yep.
That's my people, right? It's what I know, right? And yet I don't have the relationship to what it is to be 60, but I do know what it is to be at a point where it's like, oh, um, I could still feel desire and the eroticness, but also, like, you know, that doesn't have to be this transactional kind of, we both have to come,
Right.
like there's like there and the body's changing, right? The biggest things that I encounter with the men I work with, is age, cock size, I'm gonna, can I come or can I not? um I'm not like I used to be. Well, like, honey, guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, we're aging. I love another one that comes up for me is, oh my gosh, I have man boobs. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, bodies change. And so that's why I'll tell people, like, be fucking compassionate to yourself. Like,
Yeah,
know that,
absolutely.
like, what makes money is, like, the hot guys and the guys that are fucking and porn, like, that makes money. And that is also, like, you see it in the movies.
Hmm.
You have
Hmm.
a apocalyptic movie and everybody's pretty, right?
Yes,
It's like
but that's
this.
because there's these idealized ways of what it means to be alive and virile and gay and this sexual being. And it's like, I'm to the point where I'm like, here's what you get. This is what you
Yeah.
get. I'm still passionate. I'm still very sexual. I'm much more intimate driven. I'm probably and of course there goes my 61-year-old brain, like, what is it I'm trying to, the phrase I use, but I'm much more driven by connection with a sexual partner
Yeah.
than let's just get naked and go. Demisexual. I'm very much like, I have to have that connection to go get intimate. And sometimes intimate be like, let's just make out, roll around all over each other's
Yeah.
bodies, feel, I love the feel of a cock in my hand. Does that mean I need you to come? No, I just love a hard cock. That I become much more of a cocksucker than I used to be. I'm not a big top like I used to be, nor am I a bottom. I'm like probably more of a side than anything. But that doesn't mean I don't want to fuck. That doesn't mean I don't want to
Yeah.
get fucked. It's just here's what I'm more prone to at this space in my life. And it's always so
Yeah.
funny, Joseph, because I'll say something like that, and then, you know, a week later, I'm, with my husband, or we might be having a play date, and I'm like, I just want to fuck. I just want to like, because there's
Well,
that.
we're
We're just
evolving. We're
beings.
evolving.
We
Yeah.
are
And
evolving, evolving.
what I noticed, the way I teach and what's very, very, very important for me, and I do this, I just did it this weekend, is like I I personally, like, it's maybe it's selfish. I personally want to feel this kind of safety so that I'm building trust with someone else, right? And so how do you do that? We had 26 guys. I don't know how many guys there was, a lot of guys there. And how do we do that so that they can get to the point that the next day we're having an undressing ritual, right?
Mhm.
And so the most important thing is like get people talking. Get people in pairings, set them up as buddies, right? Get people to know more about each other, to like, remove some of the armor before we remove the clothing.
Yep.
And get to the point where it's like I like to end my, when I teach, I like to end where it's like I'll tell the guys like find your buddy and let's turn on, I'll throw on, I don't know, Gloria Stefan, some kind of sappy love song. And I said, just hold your partner, right? Really just be with them and soften your bodies. And it doesn't have, you're not doing a registry at J.C. Penney. You're not like,
Oh, come on.
but it's like, and you can, but that the reality is just building trust. And I think this is what I hear. I hear it from the older guys. I hear it from the younger guys. Like, I want some intimacy. I want connection, right?
Yep.
And it's not always it's not always doable in in a dirty bookstore or in the back of a bar, right? It
Right.
can be. I know
Sure
a
it
lot of
can be.
people that have had that
Yeah.
experience. And there's nothing wrong with all that either. So what I'm
Mm.
saying to any of the listeners is that you could have both, but also like really listen to your body. If you're horned up, on a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock at night, by God, fucking,
Do something
jerk
about it.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
go to the local glory hole. Have the
Whatever.
cheesecake, right? Do
Right.
something, right? Do
Right.
something that is
Exactly.
gonna, like, and when I say cheesecake, I'm talking like,
I
six
know.
foot one hot bear or something like that, right? And so, the but there are times where if I listen to my body and I think to myself, oh, I I kind of need to be held. I want to be heard, right? And this is like when I work with couples, I do this a lot. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do some listening turns. One of
Mm.
you is just gonna share, the other one's gonna listen.
Yes.
And then you thank the other person for listening to you, right? And so now with my partner, because, I've learned that I sometimes will have to say to him, may I have 5 minutes of your time uninterrupted? Like, I really need to, like, literally just debrief something. I
Yes.
don't want him to rescue me or save me or give me an opinion. I just want to be heard, right?
Well, not
It,
only heard, but you want to be seen, or you want to, like, you want to be able to feel like somebody's holding space for me.
yeah,
That's it. That's it. Well, I love this conversation so much, JoJo. It's been a long
yeah.
time coming.
I
I mean,
know, I
and I'm
know.
so glad we got to do this and to share. So, if somebody wanted to connect up with you, what's the best place to find out all about your work?
Oh, wait, let's see. What truck stop am I hanging out tonight? No, no. Yeah, you could check out my website. It's at Somatic Guide for Men. There's a 4 in there.
Yep.
And or check out body I teach for the Body Electric
By Electric.
School.
Yep.
Or just reach out to me. Just
Yeah.
reach out to me. Even if I'm not the type of person that says like, "Oh, I'm going to charge you for, an email." No, just reach out to me.
Yeah.
If I can't help, I have a lot of other people that I can send you to.
Absolutely. Well, and
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of this. Like, JoJo does his work, Court does his work, I do my work. That we all do it in different ways. Find the person that you resonate with. Find the person you feel like you can have a connection with. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to connect to yourself, and somebody who can help facilitate that connection is really important, but you got to be able to connect with them too. Some of you might be going, I need somebody who's going to really challenge me. Others, you're like, I need somebody to just really hold space. I need somebody to be gentle with me. Whatever it is, trust the modalities. Be very clear on what it is you're wanting to work on. And sometimes, JoJo, let's be honest, that can be the starting point. These guys don't know what they really are working on. And this is where we begin to unfold and peel back the layers and take off the clothes of shame around all of this and go, oh, guess what? Here, this is what we are working on. This is what we're trying to get to.
I'll leave with this. This is one big thing I hear all the time. Always. I actually don't know what I want. And it's like, okay, but that's good. you have somewhere to go with that.
I love that. I love that when a client says that, because it's like, great. So let's go figure that out. Let's go do this.
Or the best thing, one of my mentors said this, Don Shuey. He said, you just tell people, what do you imagine it to look like? And so I use that all the time, because then it's like, just imagine, like, what is this session to look like for you?
Actually, I'm reading his book right now. Daddy
Lover God. Yeah.
Daddy Lover God. Yes.
I just reread it and gave it to a friend of mine who's wanting to get into the work. He's a good guy.
Well, again, JoJo, thank you so much.
Yeah,
so glad that we do it. And guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope this will be one that maybe some of you will like, I need to re-listen to that. I need to re-listen to it. If that's what it is, that's fantastic. If it's like, nope, that was good, that's fantastic. But hopefully you will walk away from this realizing, yes, for me, I want to do this, or, oh, I got what I needed, and now let's go experiment with what I've learned. So thank you again, JoJo. I so appreciate you, man. And thank you all for being listeners. And we'll be back in just another week with another episode of 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk. Be well, everyone.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.